Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news with me, Mark Goldbridge, and something is definitely sinister at Manchester United as we wake up to yet another disappointing but not surprising downing of tools by Manchester United players in a Manchester United shirt. How many times over the last 10 years have we said this, and how many more times are we going to have to say it before the problems do get solved? Lots to get into. We'll be talking about what Ten Hag had to say. We'll be talking about some of the things being levelled against Ten Hag this morning and the players. Hypocrisy, out of his depth, deluded, not done his homework, favouritism, lots of things to get to. And look, the title of the show is No Way Ten Hag Said This About Rashford. And in no way is this just going to be a show about Rashford and Ten Hag. But let's put it up on the screen so you can read it and dive straight into it. Because there is a lot of things. There's a few things I want to get into this morning. And I suppose it's blowing the doors off on a few things that we've sort of stayed quiet about. And a few things that are our opinion. That for a long time, there was a strong rumour that Ten Hag's initial interview for Manchester United involved Marcus Rashford. Not that he was sat there, not that Rashford runs Manchester United, but that Manchester United had this obsession that Rashford needed to be the star boy of Manchester United for the next 10 years. And Ten Hag bought into that. How can you run a football club when you identify a brand player as the face of Manchester United for the next 10 years? This would never happen at Liverpool. It would never happen at Manchester City. And I feel that Rashford's a victim as that as much as anybody else. You cannot just decide this player's really popular and he's going to be the player that plays for the team and we build the team around him. But Ten Hag was really enthusiastic about that. Now, is that the tail wagging the dog? Or was that Ten Hag's idea? But it was something that came out of that initial interview that really impressed Manchester United. And in the short time that Ten Hag's been at Manchester United, Marcus Rashford has been the star. And last season it worked, and this season it didn't. But I would say, did Ten Hag do his homework? And why is he now a hypocrite? Because what amazed me about this last night from Ten Hag, and look, we wake up and we see new things. And there's a lot of things he said last night which I think were, incredible in a sense. But I also would say as a headline, there is a big clue as to why changing the manager now isn't the way to go. Good night, Mark, says Suj. So this is what Ten Hag had to say about Marcus Rashford. He said, this team is resilient. No, that was not what he said about Marcus Rashford. Sorry, Goldberg just put the wrong thing there. This is what he said about Marcus Rashford. Ten Hag on Rashford's form. He works hard. He will get back. He will recover, and he gets all our support. Do you not see, Oscar's just gifted a membership there. Thank you, Oscar. Do you not see the hypocrisy here? Because I do. Jadon Sancho gets called out after an Arsenal game in a press conference for not putting the effort in training, which we didn't even see. Jadon Sancho makes an absolute massive error, which has made most people turn against him because he put a tweet out, which he never ever should have done. Marcus Rashford, Scott McTominay, yesterday, forgetting other bad performances this season, put in dreadful performances where you could question not only their ability, but their effort levels. And Ten Hag comes out and says this: he works hard, he'll get back, he'll recover, and he gets our support. But you didn't say that about Jadon Sancho after the Arsenal game when he didn't even play in the Arsenal game. And this is favouritism that, as fans, you sat there going, look, he's having an argument on the touchline with Anthony Martial yesterday, just before half-time. But he's coming out after the game saying this about Rashford. We're not stupid. This is like waking up on Christmas morning. You get a pair of socks and your brother gets a PS5. Like, whether you agree with it or not, we can all see the way different people are getting treated here. And that's not to mention the way Raphael Varane's being treated. Now, apparently, and this is rumour, the Varane situation is really petty. That's the noise coming out of Man United. The reason that Varane fell out with Ten Hag, or Ten Hag fell out with Varane, is really petty. Like, nobody will really say what it is, but it's not like they've had a stand-up argument or anything like that. It's really petty. And so petty that Ten Hag thinks, I won't play a world-class centre-back anymore. Yet, you're going to keep picking McTominay. You're going to keep picking Rashford. I mean, the club is just a mess, and there is something sinister going on there. I don't know what Erik Ten Hag is doing in relation to his homework at Manchester United. I woke up this morning and I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? Marcus Rashford, let's be fair, let's share this out a little bit. Marcus Rashford, Scott McTominay, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka are all 5 players that over the last few years have probably not been good enough. And I know Wan-Bissaka's been good over the last year, but the previous years probably not. Rashford was good last year, not good this year, not good the year before. Maguire's doing well at the moment, but not for the last 18 months. Lindelof's very up and down, and McTominay, well, you know, whatever. Those 5 players are pretty much starters for Ten Hag. I know Lindelof didn't start yesterday. So half his team, but he's not done his homework, because those 5 players got Solskjaer sacked. Those 5 players got Ranić. Not those 5 players, but what I mean is those 5 players, if you do your homework, have been part of failed regimes. They were starters for Solskjaer, they were starters for Ranić, and now they're starting for Ten Hag. I mean, some of them probably started for Mourinho, thinking about it. Not Maguire, not Wan-Bissaka, but the other 3 might have done. Why is he not doing? Why is nobody at the football club doing homework to go, we've got a selection of players here that have sacked a number of managers or been part of a manager's sacking, and we're still using them, and we still think that we're going to improve as a football club when we keep using players that have already... I mean, how many chances do you get in a Manchester United shirt? This is one of my biggest issues. I hate the saying the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. But Ten Hag is now picking players that were picked by Solskjaer and got sacked, that did for Ranić before he even got going. Does he not do his homework at Manchester United? Or are we just run by these players? Because something sinister is going on at Manchester United. Player power has long been a rumour. Some would say a fact. But if I went into Manchester United tomorrow as a manager, and I'm not going to, and you're not going to, but if I did, I'd say, who's in charge? I presume we don't know at the moment because Richard Arnold's gone. So can you get me the person in charge? I'll wait. I'll wait. And when they come in, I'd say, look, first things first, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me I've got to pick this player because he's massively popular. I need to be able to do what needs to be done, and I need your support to help me get there. But let's look at the homework, because has Sir Jim Radcliffe been watching Man United every game for the last 10 years? Has Sir David Brailsford been watching Man United for the last 10 years? Has Blanc been watching Man United for the last 10 years? Has Paul Mitchell been watching Man United for the last 10 years? Because this is what we need. We need people to come into the football club who actually watch the football club over the last 10 years and know the problems, because it really annoys me that people do not seem to know what the problems are at Man United, and every manager that comes in seems to do the same thing. People were talking about it last night. McTominay must do something right because he always ends up in the team, and those managers always end up getting sacked. So if you've got a brain and you do your homework, I'm going to go, I'm not falling into the trap that Mourinho, Ranić, Ollie and Ten Hag fell into. I don't care how good McTominay is in training. Every time he ends up in the team, managers get sacked. And it's not his fault. There are other managers as well. There are other players as well. But there are a collection of players that cannot be trusted at that football club. And it doesn't matter whether you want to name 1 or 2. There's actually 6 or 7 that have been there for 3 or 4 years and failed. You don't get that amount of chances at Man United. There are players that played last night who are getting big contracts and big opportunities who shouldn't be here anymore. They've literally failed in a United shirt numerous times, and we keep giving them a chance. Somebody said it on the watch along. They're absolutely right. If Pep Guardiola spends £50 million on a player and realises he's made a mistake, they get rid of the player. At Manchester United, you have to keep them for 4 or 5 years. And that's why we never progress. And that's why, for me, changing a manager, whether it's Ten Hag, Ranić, or whoever, isn't the problem. Until we have an appetite to clear the shit and start again, we will never succeed. If you sack Ten Hag after the Liverpool game, and it could happen, and you bring another manager in, you will get a bounce. You will get a bounce because the players have got what they want. We're not really to blame. It's the manager. That's how their mind works. And then about a year later, they can't be asked again because they've got to come into training when it's dark or whatever. There is a fundamental core of players that survive at that football club like cockroaches. We got rid of Ronaldo to stick with these players. Ronaldo was a pain in the arse, but he's a winner who knows what it takes to win. We scapegoated Ronaldo. We forced Ronaldo out to keep the happy core of players who fuck this club over every 18 months. And you can, I'm not interested in naming individuals, because the minute you name individuals, you become toxic and agenda driven. So let's just call them a collective core of players that keep getting chances under every manager and keep fundamentally destroying this club's progress. They have to go. And I can't believe that Ten Hag hasn't done his homework on that. And I can't believe that Ten Hag hasn't seen this coming. And I can't believe that Ten Hag is relying on those players to keep him in a job and as, you know, sidelined players that actually made him have a really good season last season. Raphael Varane, Luke Shaw at centre-back was superb last season. He's ignoring it. Amrabat was brought in by him. He's ignoring him. Mason Mount was brought in by him. He was ignoring him before he got injured. Rasmus is benched for Martial. Martial's another one as well. So you've got Martial, Rashford, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, McTominay. That's 6 players that have been here. Some of them for Mourinho, but certainly Oli Ranić. He's got over half a team of players that have sacked managers because they weren't good enough. And he's picking those players again. We need somebody to come into this club who knows the last 6 or 7 years. Because this manager doesn't know the last 6 or 7 years. And nobody's bloody told him. And Steve McLaren hasn't been here for the last 6 or 7 years anyway. We just keep making this mistake every 3 years. Bring somebody in who goes, I'm going to give everybody a chance again. And that's the problem. Stop appointing people who want to come in and give everybody a chance again. Do your fucking homework. If you buy a house and every 3 years there are floods, and you buy it and go, I'm confident there won't be a flood in 3 years' time, and then it floods, everyone's going to go, you should have done your fucking homework. Do your homework. Stop picking these players that will fundamentally let you down. When can we expect to win the Champions League? Guraf, I ain't got a bloody clue. I feel like I've had enough of this team at the moment, says Neil. And chances of beating Bayern are bleak, but Varane has to play, no question, says Ishan. Look, I think that when you look at this, the scenario of Manchester United at the moment and where we are at, there is this common term that the play, and I want to go through Ten Hag's comments. There's a lot to get through here, but I want to get these things off my chest. There are 3 fundamentals here: hypocrisy in relation to how certain players are treated and other players aren't. You look at Varane, you look at Sancho. You might agree with how they've been treated. I don't care if someone... I think Sancho shouldn't be training. The tweet was disgusting, and if he won't apologise for it, he has to be punished. Varane, I don't really know what's going on. I disagree with it, but I don't mind with people who do agree with it. But my problem is, you've got Sancho and Varane being, treated like shit, but then you've got other players who play every week and play shit, and he's got an arm around them. That's favouritism. You can't have that. It's especially when you're losing games. It's a really bad look for a manager. It makes him look stubborn, out of his depth, and what's it called? Nepotism. Homework is the second thing. You've got to do your homework. You've got to do your homework. So Jim Radcliffe's got to do his homework. He can't come in and go, hi, everybody, love me. Everybody gets another chance. I'm tired of new managers and new owners, well, not new owners, but new leaders coming into the club and giving everybody a chance. I hate that style of management where you come in and you go, forget what's gone wrong in the past. Everybody gets another chance. No, they don't get another chance. They don't get another chance because some of these players have screwed over 2 or 3 managers. Don't give them another chance. It's like someone stabbing you in the back, realising who did it, and then going, don't worry, I don't think you'll do it again. Stop. Do your fucking homework at this football club. Football's not that difficult. Football's about getting 11 of your best players you can on the pitch and, and scoring goals. Don't overcomplicate it. Really don't. But there is also this common term as well that I think we need to hit head on. And that is, these players aren't playing for the manager. Can we please get this term correct? These players may not be playing for the manager, but managers come and go, and they do come and go at Manchester United. It's not that the players aren't playing for the manager. They're not playing for you. And it's about time, after 10 years of this, We called it for what it is. They may well not be playing for the manager, but the manager is not a Manchester United fan and gets paid good money to be a Man United manager. You are football fans of Manchester United. They're not playing for you. You think about United's away support this season. Some of you may have been it, but certainly over the last week, Everton, Turkey, horrendous weather, freezing cold Newcastle. You're travelling all around the world to support the club that you love. And look, people are getting up at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning all around the world as well. I mean, I'm not going to just say that the away support, but look, away support is very visible. And these players are not playing for them. You know, say whatever name you want, but those players last night that couldn't be arsed or aren't good enough, they're not playing for you. My opinion with last night, and I've been sent so much information about average positions. Oh my God, if you see that graphic of average position, we've got no midfield. You've got McTominay close to Martial and Bruno. You've got Mainu sort of not there either. There's nothing in our midfield. And then you look at Newcastle and it's a very high line, 4-4-3-3. It's an absolute farce. I have been around football since I was 4 years of age. I used to go and watch my granddad coach on a Sunday morning when I was like 5 and just stand there kicking a ball. I've been in loads of dressing rooms. I've listened to loads of team talks. I've given them myself. I've played the game. We've all done it. But honestly, I don't care whether you're Pep Guardiola or, you know, a casual football fan who watches it once a week. Anybody can watch that game yesterday and know that the players aren't playing for the badge. They're not playing for the club because it's chaos. It's absolute, unaccountable, blameless chaos. That is, Luton would have a better shape than us at St James's Park. Like, there is no shape, there is no accountability, and you know what that is? Petulance, self-worth, ego. There's no team in that. And you know what I think's happening? And this is just pure speculation. I think they're like, this is too hard. This is too hard. Newcastle are way better than us. And you know why they're better than us? Because of Eddie Howe. Yeah, it's the coach. You know what? It's not on us. It's not on the players. It's the coach. They need to get rid of this guy. I've been reading the Manchester Evening News. He's just an overhyped Dutch coach from a crap league. He ain't good enough to coach us and get the best out of us. And that's how their minds will work. And actually, the truth is way from that. This is not on the manager. Because if this was on the manager, why did Mourinho have the same problem? Why did Solskjaer have the same problem? Why did Rangnick face the same problem? The manager is making mistakes. I've mentioned some of those mistakes. But if the only people who can change this is the ownership, it can't be changed by anybody else. The manager can't change this. Because even if you disagree with some of the players that he had his favourites with and the players that he treats badly, it doesn't work. If he gets rid of De Gea, most of the team don't like it and haven't reacted well to it. And they haven't. You know, that's the stone cold truth. There's a lot of players in that club that don't like the Onana for De Gea change. And they didn't like it. And it knocked a lot of confidence. And it left a lot of confusion. It did. I know that. I've been mentioning it for months. There was a lot of players in that dressing room that didn't understand why Ten Hag treated De Gea like that to bring in Onana. And there's a lot of people in that football club who look at Onana, who trained with De Gea for 10 years, and are like, why did we do this? So that's gone against the manager. You've got the Varane situation. You've got the Sanchez situation. You've got the favouritism. You've got some of the selections. He is losing because the players are more powerful than him. But the owners should be stepping in here because they're the ones that can make the changes happen. If I was in charge of Man United now, I'd pull Ten Hag into the room. I'd have a few questions, but I'd also be like, right, Eric, we're getting rid of this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, because they've been part of failure for Mourinho, Ollie, Rangnick, and now you. They've got to go. United will never do it, though, because it's all about money. Same manager, same players, yet Newcastle are getting better and Man United are getting worse. How does every manager who comes in fail? It's the players, says Madaf. With every passing game, it feels more and more like United have having a good season last season as a fallacy. We finished third because Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs had bad seasons, says Pratt. At least 2 of our starters was for sale in the summer. Why are they starting games? Good job they stayed if he's being petty with better players, says Jake Marshall. Look, last season, our best team was De Gea, gone. Wan-Bissaka, who I think we can improve on. Luke Shaw, only just come back. Martinez and Varane not being picked. So 3 of your back 5 isn't playing. Casemiro injured, Eriksen injured, Bruno's still there, Rashford off the left, forget striker, and I mean he's probably got 3/4 players from last season playing, and of those 3 or 4 players still playing, 2 of them are massively out of form. We're not the team of last year. I get tired of people going, I can't believe what's gone wrong from last year to this year. We're not the same team. This is Solskjaer's team. The team we're picking at the moment is the team that Ollie was playing a few years ago. It's very, very similar. But, you know, we're going to do a show at 8 o'clock about what's next and stuff like that. But some people will say sack Ten Hag. My stance on that one is the same one as 6 weeks ago when he was under pressure. Sacking Ten Hag, he's just won 5 of his last 7 Premier League games. That's not going to happen. He's the quickest manager in our history to hit 50 wins. It's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. I'm not saying he's not on the journey to being sacked, but Ten Hag out now is the stuff of bloody children. It's ridiculous. It's petulant. When you sit down and have a word with yourself, you'll realise you can't sack him at the moment because the form to be sacked isn't there. You might be predicting it, in which case you might be guessing it. That's fine. We may well be on the pathway to Ten Hag being sacked. In fact, I would agree. But the people who say sack him now are being incredibly naive because the form isn't there to do it yet. We might be on the pathway to it, but it's not there to do it yet. The reason I wouldn't do it, though, and the reason it really frustrates me, and I would sit down with Ricky, Beth, anybody that says Ten Hag out, and I don't know whether they have said Ten Hag out, and we'll probably have this chat at the Christmas show a week tomorrow night, because we will do, and we'll turn it into a big sort of debate. But I'm looking forward to that because I want to have a debate with a Ten Hag outer, because I will say to them, what are you going to replace it with? Because if you're telling me sack Ten Hag now and give Steve McLaren the job, I'm out. I'm out. I'm not interested. This season's over. Because I know what will happen. McLaren will just be another Ollie. It'll be like, oh, we love Steve. He's a good lad. He loves us. You know, he looks after us. Let's play for Steve. And then people will be saying, give Steve McLaren the job. McLaren's at the wheel. You know, I don't want that. I don't want that. Now, if you said to me, Ten Hag is got to go, and there was an expose on why some of the players have fell out with him, etc., and then Ancelotti wanted the job tomorrow, that's a different conversation. I still wouldn't do it, but it's a different conversation. But there isn't that. What I would do, and this is really out there, if I was Ten Hag, I would basically not play Maguire, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, Martial, McTominay, Rashford. I'd drop them all, and I'd build a team without them. And that's really people are gonna go, you can't do that, you can't do that. I am gonna do it because if I'm Ten Hag, I've got to show a future. And those 6 players are the past. And those 6 players have been part of the Ollie era, the Rangnick era, and now the Ten Hag era. It's not the future, it's the past. What we cannot do, and I said it for weeks, is we're in survival mode. And he keeps talking about survival mode. In fact, he said it after the game last night. I can't believe what he had to say. Let me just get it up on the screen for you so you can read it. It was... here we go. This team is resilient. We stick to the plan and we keep going. What fucking plan? Is that an indication that he's going to stick with these players? Like, does he not realise that against Everton, we gave up 10 shots in the box? Against Galatasaray, we gave up 10 shots in the box. And against Newcastle, we gave over 10 shots in the box. We are not resilient. We are lucky. We are lucky. We are not defending well and we are not playing well. We ground out results against shit like Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton, Fulham. We were ridiculously lucky against Everton because this guy scored an absolute worldie and gave us confidence. If we score first, there's always hope. If we concede first, we're done. We're absolutely done. We are not resilient. The definition of resilient is not when you concede a goal, you lose. The definition of resilience is not giving up loads of chances. In fact, resilience able to withstand. This is what resilient actually means in a dictionary. Able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. Yeah, we're resilient. Yeah, we're brilliant. We're brilliant at withstanding difficult conditions and reacting quickly to them. We are the opposite of resilient. We stick to the plan and keep going. What plan? What plan? We got absolutely dominated from minute one yesterday. In fact, there's another great quote from Ten Hag here that just caught my eye. Here we go. Here we go. This one, right? Listen to this. We had a tough first half, and we said at half-time, we're pleased to stay in the game at 0-0. But in the second half, we didn't. That's like the zebra that crosses the river and loses a leg because a crocodile bites it and goes, oh, we only just made it. It was painful, but I can still walk. Oh, shit. I've left my lunch on the other side. I'll be back. Goes back across the river and gets eaten. You know, I don't even know how you can say these things publicly. You know, we had a tough first half, and we said at half-time, we're happy to still be in the game. But in the second half, we weren't. I mean, it's just, like, from minute one, I mean, look, to be honest, when the team news came out, but the team news can be dangerous because I've seen bad teams selected and we get a result. So you've got to go from minute one. From minute one, it was very obvious we were going to lose that game. They absolutely bullied us in the midfield. There was no tactical shift. It was all too late. And I think the big disappointment from yesterday, and I don't want to talk about it too much tactically, was that at half-time, he's absolutely right. We were very lucky to still be in the game, but he sent the same 11 players out. I mean, I don't know what that's all about, because I remember coaching a team probably about 6 years ago away from home. They had this midfielder that was just bullying our holding midfielder, and I swapped the centre back, one of the centre backs, into holding midfielder, took the midfielder off and put another centre back on, and we completely changed the game. That's amateur football, but you spot a danger and you deal with it. And for some reason, we seem to see a danger. Our plan at the moment seems to be pray that the opposition miss a load of chances and then scam a goal at the other end. So that's the plan, I presume. The plan is hope that the opposition have a bad day in front of goal like Everton and then score on the break. That is not a plan. This plan is not going to work at Anfield. It might work against Chelsea because they miss a lot of chances, but it's not going to work at Anfield. Better teams will take us apart. Jake says, at least 2 of our strikers were for sale in the summer. Who are they starting? Why are they starting games? Good job they stayed. If he's being petty with better players, says Jake. Sorry, I think I've read that one. Yeah, get your comments in. Some other comments from Eric Ten Hag here. He basically said, I will talk with my team on the performance. We stayed in the game at the end. We had some good chances. We scored a goal, but it was offside, so it could have been a draw. I mean, this is... I mean, I get the fact that you're a rabbit in the headlights, but he's had 80 minutes watching that game to prepare his thoughts for a press conference. And this is, you know, we've all, the sad thing is we've all been here, haven't we? We've heard Van Gaal talk like this. We've heard Jose talk like this. We've heard Moyes talk like this. We've heard Ollie talk like this. You get to a point where you're not getting the truth anymore. You're almost getting propaganda. But again, do your homework, mate. If this was the first time this had happened, maybe some fans will fall for it. But we've seen all this. And does Ten Hag know this? I mean, I've never been a top manager. I've never been a top player. Do they actually do homework? Or do they just wander into something with an ego and go, I don't care what's gone on before, this is my reign? Because it's so stupid. Education in life is really important because you can learn from past mistakes. And it seems to me like these sort of quotes, he clearly hasn't got a clue about stuff like previous managers have said, because that's incredible. You know, we stayed in the game. We had some good chances. We scored a goal. You know, I'm struggling to get words out here, which is not a problem for me normally, but we stayed in the game. We only stayed in the game because Newcastle were poor. I thought Newcastle in the final third were bad. In fact, look, I don't want to give away trade secrets here, but if I was an attacking team, and I've seen Pep do this a lot, and Newcastle did it on the third goal, and I think Eddie Howe probably said it to them, I would have said if I was Newcastle at half-time and I was Eddie Howe, I would have said, you know, when we're in the box, stop panicking, stop shooting, and just play the extra pass. Because what we're doing is we're doing really well getting into the box, and Everton did this last week as well. You know, United will always let you into the box, but what they're good at doing is getting blocks in on shots. What we need to do is play the extra pass, almost pass the ball into the goal, make sure we score. Man City are brilliant at it. Liverpool are good at it. Everton were terrible at it last week, and Newcastle were terrible at it in the first half. But they scored their goal by making sure they basically created the sweaty goal, didn't they? And, you know, we are very good at getting our bodies in the way and putting blocks in, but they're obvious blocks because you can see where the shot's going. I think if you're playing Man United at the moment, play the extra pass in the box because there's players jumping in all over the place. But yeah, we didn't stay in the game. That would have been even as much as I would have bloody loved not to lose to Newcastle last night. We didn't stay in the game because we played well. Spot on, Mark. 8 years of the same players failing and they're starting again. That's why I'm just about done with this current side, says Ray. Well, they can't be trusted, Ray. You can't trust it. Paul Scholes made some great points after the game last night, actually, and he said that the players are lazy, which is right. And I think that we were never in the game, says Dalshan, exactly. But you can't trust this team. You can't trust this team. And Paul Scholes said it. He said, look, United have won 5 of their last 6 before tonight, but everybody knew it was fake. But some of you didn't. Like, you feel guilty because you sat there going, look, these results we've had, these performances that we're not defending well. I'll argue that with anyone. We're not defending well. Look at the defensive line. It's so deep. It's on the edge of the box. The gap between the defence and the attack is ridiculous. You can only play shit counter-attacking football when your defensive line is that deep. Like, we should be playing Varane and Shaw simply because they can go 10 metres forward and they can let the fullbacks go forward. I don't understand why people don't understand this, but, that's life. I know Maguire's doing quite well at the moment, but I'd still drop him for Varane because I want to get the team higher. I've got a sweeper keeper for a start. I want to go 10 metres higher, and I also want centre-backs that let the full-backs go forward. At the moment, we can't utilise the sweeper keeper. We're defending on the edge of our box. The full-backs are next to the centre-backs. So there's a massive change if you go 10 metres up the pitch and let your full-backs go forward to what we're doing at the moment. And also, you're closer to your attack. So I would play Varane and Shaw for a tactical reason. I want to get the line higher and I want my fullbacks to go into the midfield and because those centre-backs are good enough to be left on their own with Isaac. But at the moment, it's like this flat back four, massive gap. We're not playing well. Some people are very results-driven, but we're not playing well. Tactically, we're a bloody joke and it's not working. But we grind out these results against Fulham and Sheffield United and Burnley and Brentford and Luton and Everton, and everyone's going, oh, we're doing well. This is survival football. It's shit. It's edge of the box, back four. May as well be living in a different postcode to your attack. It's shit to watch as well. You look at Newcastle, the way Newcastle play, and Scholesy made a great point about Bruno as well. He said Bruno's all over the place. Now, he's probably all over the place because he's the captain. He wants to be Roy of the Rovers. He's trying to get things going. But actually, if I was playing in the midfield with Bruno, I wouldn't know where he was. And how can you play at the highest level when you don't know where your players are? And it's a great point because if you look at Bruno Guimaraes or you look at Joel Linton, the amount of times yesterday they picked the ball up under pressure, played a 10-metre pass forward into the feet of Gordon and Isaac, who instinctively just lay it off to their right, a metre, and Bruno Guimaraes and Joel Linton are running onto it. You can only do that if you know where your players are and you know what your players are going to do. We can't do that at Man United because the players are all over the bloody place. There's no shape. So we are playing this shitty counter-attacking football with a deep line because it suits certain players who have let this club down before already. There's no blueprint. There is no plan. I'm very worried about what's to come because if he doesn't try something different against Chelsea, we're going to get absolutely annihilated against Bayern Munich and Liverpool. When you see yourself fully reliant on your worst players, thanks to a kind fixture list, at war with your best players, then your days are numbered, says Humphrey. We were never in that game, says Darshan. I can't believe we need to get the standards banner out again, says Patrick Lynch. And we're a collective of individuals capable of creating some good moments, not a team. Been that way for a while now. I think our best players may be wise, says Anthony. Look, we're on, let me just get through Ten Hag's quotes and then remind me of the big thing I want to say about what I would do because it's probably going to be quite surprising. But, I just think we're in that position. Ten Hag on the fixture schedule. This week it was not in our advantage, but we'll take it as it is. I mean, look, We've literally been talking about this fixture schedule from probably Brentford, which was how many weeks ago? We knew about this. We knew about this 2 months ago. We knew about it before the international break. We knew we had these 3 games in 6 days. And I don't agree with having to play 3 games in 6 days after an international break. I think we should have been playing Everton on the Saturday, but we knew we had 3 games in 6 days. He hasn't He hasn't brought Varane in. Amrabat's hardly played. There was rotation options in there he could have gone with in certain positions that he didn't do. I've got no sympathy with the fixture schedule because we knew everything about it. Newcastle have got the same problem. They've played 3 games in 7 days, I think. They've got a bigger injury problem than us. I mean, their bench, Newcastle's bench yesterday, he couldn't use it. It was that bad, and yet they played us off the park. So let's not talk about fixture schedules. That's the same for everybody. We spoke about that one. He said, we've got to give credit to Newcastle. They played better than us tonight. We started well, had a chance with Garnacho, but then after that they were better. We didn't start well. We had a counter from a brilliant pass from Bruno where Garnacho couldn't get out of his feet, unfortunately. We didn't start well. Newcastle started well and played well throughout the whole game. We had a period of about 2 minutes, and whenever the Garnacho shot was, but they started way better than us. You know, I watched the game. I saw it. They started really well. Like, it's a fact. For a long period, they were better. I mean, this is probably Ten Hag's best quote because it's honest. Where for a long period, they were better than us and we went 1-0 down. To be fair, at the end of the game, we came back and had some good opportunities. Regull on very good chance, the offside goal. So, yes, in the end, we fought back, but we need to do this over a whole game. Well, again, I have to disagree with this because I know a lot of you didn't like the Brentford win, and I know I really did. But I said about that Brentford game, you learn nothing from it. You only take confidence because it was a bit like the end of the Newcastle game. Harry Maguire's playing up front. McTominay's gone in the box. You're whipping crosses in. That's not football. That's a tired Newcastle team holding on to a 1-0. Same as Brentford. The real game has happened for the last 85 minutes. The last 10 minutes is just chaos. That's not, you can't take the last 5 minutes of the Brentford game or the last 10 minutes of the Newcastle game and say that's how we need to play, because games aren't like that. They're only like that because it's chaos in the last 10 minutes. The real football is played in the first 85 minutes. And we can't play football in that because that's when people are tactically sound and more fitter. On the team work rate, you could say we defended quite well. No, we didn't. But I prefer us to stay further away from our goal. We'll play Varane and play a higher line then. I prefer to us to have more of the ball and play in their half. Yep, you've got to get higher up the pitch. We had our moments where we could make movements, but it was not enough. We need to be more dominant in the game. I mean, this is interesting. This is interesting stuff, but it's stuff that he is in control of. We didn't defend well. You can't say you're defending well when you're giving up 10 shots in the box every game. You can't say, I'd like us to play further up the pitch and then not pick the players to get you further up the pitch. And you can't say that we'd like to have the ball and keep hold of the ball better when your gap between your defensive line and your attack is bigger than the Grand Canyon. Like, this is tactics. You know, who are you talking to again? Because it's almost like he is a professor talking about a subject we don't know about, but we do. Flat back 4, but that's on Ten Hag, says Tom. Exactly. The way Ten Hag is managing right now is either he's blinded by his own stubbornness or going for the sack, says Dave King. Look, I don't know what's going on in relation to Ten Hag. I can guess, but that's not unfair. But what I feel from an outsider's point of view is that he is being a hypocrite because he is treating certain players really, really badly. And he might have a reason to do that, but he is treating other players really, really well who deserve to be treated badly. I can think of 3 or 4 players that deserve to be out of that team because of what they've done in a United shirt, and he'll keep picking them. And yet there's 2 or 3 players who are out the team who probably haven't done very much, and he's treating them like shit. I have no hope we will improve this season. Players seem disinterested, says Nemo. And why can't we press up front? It weakens our midfield. Is it coaching or player IQ, says AK. Look, people talk about pressing from the front. There's no point pressing from the front when your defensive line is so deep. We saw this we saw Ollie do this against Leicester years ago. The gap between the defence and the midfield was ridiculous. You can't press pressing from the front is such a simplistic term. You can't press from the front. Watch Man City today. I'm doing a watch along for that on That's Football at 4 o'clock. But you can't press from the front if you don't press from the back. You have to press as a team, because if you press as a front 3, the opposition, if you're not pressing from the back, there will be space in the midfield for you to play through the press. You can only press effectively as a team. And you can't press effectively if your defence is deep, because the gap is too big to press. You're leaving too much gap. Why are we playing deep? Because we're scared of the ball over the top, because we don't have a lot of pace at the back. Thank you very much, though, for that super chat, AK. Couple of more comments here. Oh, here we go. I mean, this is always disgusting. Steve McLaren had to wait at the top of the tunnel to tell some Man United players to turn around and applaud the travelling fans. Well, you know, this will upset a lot of people, quite rightly. Some people will just go, at the end of the day, you know, it's just PR, isn't it? To make McLaren look good, who's probably going to be the interim coach for Ten Hag. But, you know, we can all be sinister. There's sinister stuff that goes on at Manchester United, no doubt. But I think this is a reflection on what I'm trying to say. People keep saying the players aren't playing for the manager, so sack the manager. The players aren't playing for the club. The players aren't playing for the fans. Sack the players. I'm tired of sacking managers. I've said this before. You won't get me saying Ten Hag out, because it's toxic, and I don't think it does us any good. I will say players out, though, because some of these players have been here for 3 or 4 managers being sacked. And I'm not going to say the players aren't playing for the manager anymore. The players aren't playing for the fans. And there's your evidence for it as well. They're in their own little bubble. This is not the first time this has happened. They're not playing for the fans. I watched that game last night. The midfield was non-existent. The gap between the amount of 50-50s Newcastle won was superhuman. Like, the amount of 50-50s they won was impressive, but it got to a point where you're like, the players aren't playing for the fans here. Like, they were losing so many 50-50s because they couldn't be arsed. The players aren't playing for the fans. Sack the players. This is the message that needs to go to the top. Sir Jim Radcliffe needs to do his bloody homework over the biggest advice I would give to Sir Jim Radcliffe is, I hope you've been watching United for the last few years, because you've tried to buy Barcelona, you've tried to buy Chelsea, you're a boyhood Man United fan. I hope you've been watching Man United for the last 10 years, because if you haven't, you're going to make the same mistakes everyone else has done. You need to sack the players. There are players in that team that have been here for years who've got to go, because they are going to make your job very difficult if you don't. Forget managers. You can sack the manager if you want to. That's up to you. But you will fail if you rely on these players. And there's something sinister going on at that football club, where people within that football club, whether it's CEOs, owners, whatever, inflict on a manager, this player, and this player, they run this club. These are the players you've got to build your team around. And it's not to do with football. It's to do with branding. It's to do with, I don't know what it's to do with, but there's something sinister going on at this football club, because no one's doing their homework, and the hypocrisy is ridiculous. How some people are being treated like this, but some people are being, you know, allowed to get away with stuff. It's disgusting. Wake up, it's not the owners, players, managers, it's the staff. 98% British staff. That's simply Sir Alex Ferguson's mates. Fletcher has never worked as a technical director before. It's jobs for mates, not best in class, says G. Well, this needs to change. Pep did his homework before joining City. He got rid of Joe Hart before he walked through the door, says Chris. Mate, whether you're studying for an exam or studying for your driving test, or you're a manager of a new football club, do your homework. Do your homework. And guess what? Do your homework and come in and make sure that you've got the backing to do what needs to be done. Don't do a job interview where you're told certain players have to be part of the future, because that's not going to help. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted about Ten Hag. No win against the top no win against the top 8 away team in over 2 years. I've been waiting for this question. I know it's your job to see it. We have this problem and we have to overcome it. Well, look, you know what? I can give Eric the answer here. He doesn't need to answer the problem. The reason Man United have not beaten a top 8 away team in over 2 years is because we're not good enough. Mentally, talent, work rate, we're not good enough. These players have got all the resilience of a boiled piece of spaghetti. They're soft. They flop. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. I don't know why Ten Hag hasn't done his homework on these players, because he's picking the wrong players. I don't know how many times I've got to say this. I would put Amrabat in over McTominay every game, because Amrabat's not part of the problems of the last 5 years, whereas McTominay has been. I would put Varane in that team tactically, but also he delivered last year and he's got a winning mentality. He's picking the wrong mentality players. Why would you pick somebody in your team who's been part of countless bottle jobs. You put somebody in new and hope that they're not part of that identity. Like, he's just getting it completely wrong at the moment. And I suppose, look, there's something I would say here as well. Do get your comments in below if you're not watching live. What do you think? Because we've got a show at 8 o'clock about this. But is there now a case to say that, well, his team against Chelsea is going to be very interesting, because I think he's going to go with the same players again. Because if you've got a stubborn manager, do you think he wants to listen to stuff like we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes? Do you think he wants to listen to stuff that's going to be in the papers this morning? Or do you think he's going to double down and go, I know best? I think from what we've seen of Ten Hag this season, he's going to stick with what he's doing. I don't think he's going to acknowledge. I mean, we've not even spoken about Onana. Has Shaw's studs up tackle on Bruno been mentioned by anyone? We didn't deserve any help, says Jeff. Mate, that was a red card for me. We don't deserve help, but that was a red card. You know, I'll probably mention it on the podcast on Tuesday, because we deserve to lose the game, but it was a red card. Like, there's no doubt about it. Ten Hag publicly commented on Pep's first season, saying where he'd went wrong, says Daniel. Yeah, it's weird what's going on, but we haven't even spoken about Onana, and there is this perception that I don't like Onana because I wanted De Gea to stay. Well, you don't watch the United stand, because when De Gea went, I said I liked Onana. So, and I liked Onana. I've always liked Onana as a goalkeeper, but I've got to put my hands up and say I've probably liked a goalkeeper that isn't good enough. You know, you do get things wrong. I've probably made a massive mistake. What happened to we have to win every game, says Mads. Yeah, I probably made a big mistake with Onana, and I put my hands up here because I actually was very pro Onana. I didn't like the way De Gea was treated, and I would have waited a year, but I think I've made a mistake with Onana. And I'm glad that we haven't spoken about him in this show, because there's a lot more people to concern ourselves about. But all I can say about Onana is that, again, it's just stubbornness from Ten Hag, isn't it? You know, he's just sticking with something because he's got to stick with it and feels he has to stick with it. I mean, his ball distribution yesterday was probably one of the worst ball distribution goalkeeping performances I've ever seen. It was horrific. And there is a player whose confidence has gone. At the moment, he's not a Man United player, Onana. He hasn't got the. He's got a confidence, but he hasn't got an assurity. Like, you look at some of the crosses he was coming for yesterday, it was almost like he was trying to prove a point, and he wasn't getting the crosses. And with his kicking, it's almost like he's trying to prove a point. He's in this. I think Onana's in this position at the moment where he's in a battle, where he believes in himself, and he's trying to fight through the bad form by proving how good he is. And he's showing the confidence to do it. But that's not how you be a Man United goalkeeper. A Man United goalkeeper is about decision making. It's not about going for crosses you can't get to try and prove a point. It's about playing the percentage of going, I can't get this, I'm going to take up a good position. He's trying to overcompensate Onana at the moment. He's trying to prove he's a Man United goalkeeper, when actually the way that you prove you're a Man United goalkeeper is by being a good goalkeeper, and that's just doing the things that good goalkeepers do. He's a concern at the moment, Onana, because he needs to work through this battle that he's going through, which can be quite self-destructive. I feel he's got the confidence, but he's trying to prove he's a Man United goalkeeper, and by trying to prove he's a Man United goalkeeper, he's taking risks that he shouldn't be taking. He just needs to get back to the basics. We all know he's playing in a team that doesn't pass out from the back, so you're not going to get judged on your distribution because we're not playing out from the back anyway. So just keep it simple. But huge problems at Manchester United, and I would leave you with this. The big problems with us at the moment are threefold for me. One, the only people who can solve this are the owners. A manager cannot solve these problems. Jose couldn't do it. Rangnick couldn't do it. Ollie couldn't do it. Van Gaal couldn't do it. Ten Hag can't do it. The manager can't solve these problems. By all means, sack him, but the same problem will happen for the new manager. The manager can't solve these problems. The players need sacking. The second thing is the contradiction. The contradiction is really hard to deal with, because you've got a manager coming out backing shit players who've been playing shit for weeks, but then he's sidelining other players for the same reason and won't pick them. Contradiction, favoritism is never going to work at elite sport level. And the third thing is homework. Do your fucking homework. Like, if you've not done it already, read up on Van Gaal, read up on Mourinho, read up on Ollie. Look at the teams they were picking. Look at the games they were losing. And guess what? You'll go, oh my God, the similarities are unbelievable. Huh? They are unbelievable. We're losing the same sort of games that Jose did at the end, that Ollie lost at the end, that Van Gaal lost at the end. Oh my God. A lot of the players that Jose and Ollie picked, I'm picking. And they let them down. Do your fucking homework. Stop relying on a collection of 5 or 6 players that Ollie was using. You've got to... Ten Hag, last night on the fan forum, there was a poll. Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. It was getting close to 60-40. 2 weeks ago, it was 85-15. If you lose the fans, Eric, you ain't coming back. And it's not easy to lose the fans, but at the moment you're making way too many mistakes. What Ten Hag needs to do is offer something new. Last season, he offered something new. We knew we weren't going to win the league, but he offered something new and progressive. This season, he's off. I mean, here we go. Last season, the football wasn't great, but he offered something new. It was a new team heading in the right direction. This season, he's offering what Ollie offered. Same players, same system. Look how it ended for Ollie. He needs to go back to last season. He needs to play something that's progressive, something that's new, something that's exciting. This season, he's doing survival football the way Ollie did it. And we've all seen this before. It's not exciting. It's the same bloody players that let Ollie down as well. Maybe you do bring a Donny van der Beek into the midfield and stick him next to Mainu. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Maybe you put Rashford on the bench and you put Anthony and Garnacho as your wingers with Højlund up front. Maybe you bring Varane in and you get your line higher. You get your fullbacks into the midfield. These things could all happen against Chelsea. Offer something new. I think his team that he picks against Chelsea will be massive. I think he's got to offer something new. I don't think he will. What isn't good enough are our tactics. Wrong players being picked or signed. Gap between the forwards and the defence. Who is to blame for that, says Humphrey. And I think Eric Ten Hag should get rid of deadweight players like what Mikel did the past few years when he first built, says Clifford. Well, it's the same thing, Clifford. He needs to offer something new, but at the moment he's offering us something that we've all seen before. Thanks everyone for watching. It's been a fantastic show. Don't forget to smash a like on the video. I'm on That's Football this afternoon at 4 o'clock for Man City against Spurs. I need to watch some good football. Although I thought Newcastle were fan. You know what? I don't know about you. I was watching Newcastle last night and I actually enjoyed. It's never happened to me before. I actually enjoyed the way they play, which is just weird. They played so well. The way they pass and move, I'd be so proud of that if I was a Newcastle fan. They played so well. You know, the way they don't have world-class on paper players, but they play so well. Like, their football's so good. And I mean, obviously ours is so bad, but you know. 8 o'clock show tonight is going to be very interesting as well. Let's see who we get in the FA Cup draw this afternoon as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. If you want to get your Christmas jumpers, by the way, they are out and we do ship worldwide. I think the link's in the live chat, or just go United Stand Shopify. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.